Welcome to Primetime, everybody. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
It's going great, and as always, we're ready to talk some Buffy.
Yes, we are. Buffy Season 7, episodes 1 to 11. We are doing the first half of the final season. I am super excited to get into this. I absolutely love this show, so that's a great thing. And Chad and Carrie are the experts here, at least to me. So, guys, let's get into this ranking. I'm super excited.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say that, I don't know how long it's been. I think it's been at least a year that you started watching this.
Mhm.
And one, I hate that you've had to kind of watch it so slowly. But I'm just glad that you're actually getting into the show and that you're really liking it. Honestly, we're gonna have to celebrate once you finish. And once we finish the series, I'm excited to see if maybe you'll want to go back and just binge the rest of it again another time, because I feel like at that point, that's when you can actually dig deep into it more and just figure out a lot of stuff. I know my friend Dylan watched it 3 times. And he told no one he was doing this. He watched it 3 times and then dropped a full ass review on his channel, the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I think he has it as a separate video if you want to watch that. Yeah, I love watching it. So now let's discuss. There's two more videos left. I'm sorry, I'm just getting really excited but kind of emotional about it. So
Yeah, so the reason it's taken me so slow to get into it is, one, I want to watch them in half so we can do these videos, but also with all the movies and the studying I have to do for trivia, and also just life and work. It's just I only have a certain amount of time to actually sit down and watch it. I don't really binge shows. I like doing maybe a chunk of episodes every day to really be able to not overwhelm myself with so many episodes.
If this format then definitely works for you, I could easily see doing other iterations of this kind of series. If you guys wanted to either, binge something, or not binge, but watch in a series format like this, a show that Carrie and I have already seen and introduce you to it, or maybe vice versa, something you've seen that will be new to, and you can see our reactions, or we can watch something that's completely new. So, but yeah, we could discuss that once we get to the end of the next episode, which will be our conclusion of the Buffy series. So, but let's get into this one.
All right. So how this works is we have a tier ranking from S to C, and we're gonna pick up an episode, or we're each gonna nominate an episode, and then we're gonna have it put in S, A, B, C, or C, and then we'll tell the reason why, and then it's majority rules. So at least two of us have to agree to put it in that ranking, and then it goes in there for our final ranking. So Carrie, you want to start with your first episode and where it places?
Well, first, I do want to interject that we are doing 2 S tiers.
Yes, two S tiers
for this half and next half. So that'll be 4 S tiers for season 7 total.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna start with the first episode of the season, which is Lessons, the one that kicks off the season. I think this is an A tier episode. I don't think it's quite S tier, but if you guys both think it goes there, I would be fine with that too. This is, I think, one of the scarier episodes of Buffy, actually, but that's just for me, ghosty stuff is a little bit scarier. So I always thought this episode was kind of scary. The scene with Dawn in the bathroom, just everything in that is scary. I think it's a really good start to the season. I think we kind of get this new Buffy who's refreshed. We get a new Willow who's trying to deal with her trauma. So I think this is a really nice start, and a new Dawn who's kind of coming into her own and starting high school. And I think the way that this episode ends with all of the villains from the prior season being embodied by the first at that. It's like very epic. Yeah, it's an epic start to that final season, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going A tier, but yeah.
Yeah, and did you also say we get a new Spike?
Yeah, we do get a new Spike too.
Yep.
He's very different.
Insane.
Yeah, he's very different starting this. And I've always loved this kind of like thing where we're like, well, we know where Spike left off in the last season. You know, you get your soul. And then, you know, we're like, how's this going to work in season 7? How are they going to introduce him? And then he's crazy in the basement of the school, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I also would put this in A. I think this is a solid A. I wouldn't go S, but I wouldn't give this a B. I think it's like Carrie said, it's very effectively scary. I like that it's like it starts with like the opening of the new Sunnydale High School, which is really cool. We get to introduce to Principal Wood, who is a interesting new character that we get to see, and there's a little bit of mystery behind him as you go through this first half of the season. Carrie laid out like all the characters are having something new and interesting going on. Buffy's kind of like trying to really play that like substitute mom role, like really big sister role for Dawn, and like taking her to school and like making sure she's good and safe there, kind of playing like a protector thing, and then ends up becoming a guidance counselor in order to not necessarily just to like watch Dawn at school, but like to just kind of fulfill herself like while she's around there anyways. Like the high school probably feels a little bit like home to her. Another cool interesting thing about this episode though that I like is that after Dawn finds out about the ghosts, she makes a friend, and then she makes another friend, and it kind of forms a little bit of like a little Scooby gang, because it's her, another girl, and then a guy, Carlos, I think his name is. And you could easily see like if they had wanted to go that route, they could have did maybe like a spin-off
with them three going,
where either they all get powers somehow, or maybe Dawn will end up channeling her inner Harriet the Spy, and like a little detective show.
Yes.
Where kind of like Supernatural, where they don't really have powers, but they're still really good. That's more complicated, but I think this episode's really great. I love the opening of the school. I like how scary it is. I like that it's like the former students that or like you didn't save us kind of a thing. I thought that was really creepy and cool, and sad. But then I love the way the first is introduced in this, the first evil, as we will begin to kind of understand. Like we've seen it before in season 3. And
have we seen it before?
Yeah, there's an episode. It's called The Men's, where the first and the Bringers are there. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and then I don't know if it was like a plot line that they set up then that they were like, we're gonna do this as the final season, or if it was just like a creepy thing that they were like, this is something
we can use this,
because not all like things that started out earlier in the show have like panned out. Like there's like certain teases, like there's that one with the egg, or is it the egg that's hatching in the closet that zooms in and we like never see that again? So there's like stuff like
that's like the most X-Files-y episode, because episodes they always end with something like that, and it never turns out to be anything else.
What else about this episode before I stop talking? I love the I think it's super iconic, the ending that Carrie was talking about, where the first is showing up as different villains. and then it shows up as Buffy at the end, and it's like not about right or wrong, it's about power. I'm like, so cool, and I love seeing like all the ones return, and it's just, it feels like the end of an era because you're seeing all those things. I think there was something where they were all represented, right? There wasn't one left out. I feel like there might have been one left out.
I feel like for season 2, they probably didn't use David Boreanaz. I feel like they might have.
Didn't they have Drusilla?
They probably used Drusilla, yeah.
But
I think they did.
I mean, they definitely have the first appear as Drusilla in season 7. We were reading through, remember, and then she does.
Let me see if it says it.
But I remember because I was reading like that one book about Buffy, and they were talking about how that whole thing was supposed to be like more of a presence.
No, they have all of them.
Okay, that's what I thought that they might, but I wasn't sure. That it was supposed to be more of a presence as far as like bringing back a lot of these villains and stuff to be have like more screen time. And then I think a lot of the older villains like Glory and stuff were a little disappointed that they didn't get more time in the season.
Yeah.
So it feels a little bit like less kind of fleshed out as an idea, but as one scene, it's pretty freaking epic.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you could guess, you could like, what if they had been able to spread that out, but otherwise it's still pretty awesome.
It's pretty epic, and I think it accomplishes like the goal of like, I don't know, it's kind of marking, for one, it's marking like it's the end of this show. Like they're kind of telling you, they're saying like, here are all the big villains, and like this is a really cool shout out, and like
but you know what, Carrie, I could feel a little bit bad. I think Hunter should finally talk about this episode.
No, that's fine. I agree with A for lessons. I originally had it at B when I was, on my list, but listening to what you guys said, that ending is really, really cool. And to cap off, this final season with showing all of the other villains of the past seasons in one kind of first evil, I think that's a really, really great way to be like, this is what we're doing for the final season. I do like the idea that it's, kind of Buffy having to deal with her past of like, not only her past of having to go back to the high school, but, the having to come to face the kids that she couldn't save. Yeah. And like what that running theme does with someone who is the superhero, but you can't save everybody. There are going to be some people with collateral damage that, you didn't mean for them to, to die, but that happens in the battle, of combat. And I like that at the end, she kind of decides to, kind of avenge these kids by working with other kids at the school to make sure that nothing ever happens to them. By the way, the new principal, Mr. Wood, I think his name is, right?
Principal Robin Wood, yeah.
Yeah, he is played by D.B. Brookside, or Woodside, who was, if you watched Lucifer, he is Lucifer's brother, Amenadiel, which is fucking awesome.
He's also, I haven't watched it, but I've heard it's actually pretty good. I think he's in that show, Evil.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Oh, yep. Yeah, we can watch both of those, actually. Yeah. I've heard great.
Lucifer is amazing, and his character is like, he plays Lucifer's brother, so he's like the good angel, and then Lucifer, they have these battles within each other. But that show is amazing. Check it out if you haven't already. But so it's really good to see him in like an earlier work. I was like, oh, hey, like that guy I recognize. And it's cool that like he went from, Buffy, which is a show about, angels and vampires and stuff, and then years later played a literal angel in Lucifer.
Well, I will say I don't think Buffy's about angels, but there is an angel.
There is an angel, yes.
But I'll second that. I actually really love Principal Wood. in the show. I think he brings a lot to the show, and I won't get into specifics because there's a lot of interesting stuff that comes along with his character. And then also
with the nod is so good.
Also, I love that you brought about the idea of Buffy trying to use her power to empower other people, because that plays a big role in this season later on as well.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to tap into, and we can move on, is we were talking about the first and how it appears as other things. And then I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, when they're thinking about like doing the first evil, they could have had the first evil appear as like, I don't know, some big dude or some big monster or something like that. Instead, it's like, no, evil is in everyone, and I exist in everything. All these big bads, but also I'm in you. I'm in Buffy. I'm in, anyone. So I just think that's a really cool idea that they did, and they ran with it. So
yeah, so cool to see the Master again after like so long. You're like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah, with his Kool-Aid face.
Yeah.
Fruit punch mouth is what it is.
All right, Chad, move on to your first selection.
All right, I think I'm going to go right off the bat with an S tier. I'm thinking, and I'm not sure if this is one of Carrie's S tiers, but okay, actually, I think it is 100% her S tier. Conversations with Dead People. Okay, yep, figured. So this, and she can explain like her one like big reason why she loves this episode, but it's really cool because it like plays in real time, and so it feels like it's happening right when you're watching it, if that makes sense. Like everything is like there's no time jumps or anything like that. It's cool because this is like, I think, the only episode where none of the characters actually interact with each other.
Main characters.
Like main characters. And instead, they're mostly just talking to dead people. They're talking to either the first or a vampire or something that's not living. So we have like, it's like a bunch of like little like vignettes almost of just one person somewhere talking with someone else, and it's Willow in the library with the pipe. Just kidding. Willow in the library. This isn't Clue. Willow in the library with
Cassie,
who
Cassie,
who talks to her about Tara and herself and stuff, and kind of urges her to kill herself, basically. I was trying, how do I put that like lightly? No, to commit suicide.
To unalive herself, I guess.
Sure. And then you have Dawn at her home, which is the creepiest part of the episode. Where I think she's like making food or popcorn or something.
She's like heating up like a marshmallow.
That's right. That's
right.
And she's probably just about to watch TV with her friend. I think she was watching TV with her friend. Is this the one where she's watching it and then she's like, "Oh my God, that's not this," or something? And she's like, "Wait, what are you watching?"
Yeah.
Wait, they're not watching the same thing at all. They have like the Netflix app.
No, they did it old school where you would.
They're like, go to this channel.
Yeah, go to this channel and we'll call each other and talk through it.
But weird things start happening in that room, and then you have visions of like Joyce on the couch, like that's where she died. Joyce on the couch, like gripping for help. Very dark, very great use of like the lighting to have scares, and then there's like a demonic presence and a lot of like normal like haunted house type stuff that you would see like in like Poltergeist or anything like that. And then you have probably my favorite part is Buffy in the graveyard talking with an old schoolmate who's now a vampire.
Yes.
and he's like, he went to school for psychology, so he's like psychoanalyzing her, and then
It turns into a therapy session, which is hilarious.
yeah, and it's like some of like the best like conversational dialogue you'll ever hear just in a scene or just scenes, because it keeps like cutting back to them, I think, and they're just talking about Buffy's life and her unluck. There's undead, there's unluck with men and stuff like that, and that's how that's affected her life and all this stuff. And then is that it? Is that all the one?
Jonathan, Warren, and Andrew.
That's right. You have the Jonathan, Warren, and Andrew thing where Andrew is seeing Warren, but Jonathan doesn't see Warren. And Warren is telling Andrew to kill Jonathan. And so that happens at the end of the episode. But yeah, a lot of great stuff there. And it's the only episode that doesn't have Xander in it. So
yeah,
Xander, 143 episodes of Buffy, not this one. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, so like Willow and Buffy are in all of them. But yeah, they are, right?
I was thinking Willow might not be in one of the early ones, but no, I think she is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they both are, but because they make a big deal about, well, Xander's not in one. So, and that's this one. But yeah, this is definitely S tier. There's just so much going on that's just great and scary and just, great dialogue. It's one hell of an episode to watch, and I love it to death. Carrie.
Yeah, this was, I think, definitely one I would say is S tier. I think again, it's definitely one of the scarier episodes of the entire series, especially the segment with Dawn. But I think the part with Willow and Cassie is also pretty scary. And this was just really cool to this is the only season of Buffy I watched like live as it was airing. And it was just very cool because the episode starts out with like the
7 p.m.
It starts out with the date. I think that the place, Sunnydale, California, and then the date and then the time. And it was like the exact time it was airing on the East Coast, which was really, really cool.
That's cool.
I think overall, though, this is like, I don't know. I just love this one and how this entity like kind of gets to Dawn and to Willow, and then they kind of figure out that something's messing with them. And then Buffy's conversation with what's his face,
Holden Webster.
I think that is a really good conversation. You kind of know at the end, like, she is going to kill him. It is going to end at some point. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, she even tells him, she's like, I just hate that you're not going to make it out of here alive.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on. You think you really think you could take, I have vampire strength.
The great thing is he's such a dork too.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it feels like they totally would have been friends in school and stuff.
Yeah.
Circumstances are the way they are. A couple other things that I just remembered is that you find out a big mystery starts with this, where Holden says that Spike sired him. That creates the whole like, wait, what? Like Spike, what? And then the other thing is Willow finds out that she's not talking to Cassie because Cassie starts to tell her to kill herself or whatever, and she's like, Tara would never say things like this to me. So she was basically saying that Tara said something mean or something, or said Tara said that Willow should come join her or something like that. And then the thing that Dawn says is that or the thing that Joyce tells Dawn or whatever is that Buffy won't be there for her.
Yeah,
Buffy's
they'll be enemies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting to see the first try to
manipulate
this group.
everybody.
Yeah, Hunter.
Yeah, this is one of my S tiers. You know, everything that you guys said. I also like how, you know, it's kind of this interesting like 3-story arc in one episode, because you get like the Jonathan, Warren, and Andrew story. You get the Buffy doing her, you know, kind of freak of the week type episode, but it's with a twist. And then you get the Willow story stuff. So it's like a 3-act structure in one episode. I also love the cut. It's at the end when you see Spike, I'm guessing as the first, is, you know, eating the girl's neck that he takes home from the bar, and it immediately cuts from that to Buffy having to stab Holden. So it's like they're kind of like, you know, the opposite of each other right now. You're still not sure if this is, at this point, you're not sure if it's the first or if it's Spike. So it's kind of this mystery that's up in the air of like, well, what's really going on with Spike? I like that kind of mystery element of it. Yeah, it's really good to see Joyce back. You know, for this one episode. And I love the character development of Dawn as a character. Just, you know, from where we saw her in season 5 or 4? 5, yeah. To now, she's like maturing and she's becoming almost like Buffy in a way, where she's more of a fighter. And it's great to see that, like, she's not really falling for the trap as, like, you know, some characters may have fallen for this and kind of, you know, fought Buffy back or whatever, but it seems like they didn't really go that route, which I'm glad they didn't. Like, Dawn has this trust in Buffy that she will always be there for her. Like, I really, really love this episode. It's an S tier for me as well.
There's some interesting stuff like down there with like the relationship stuff that comes in the second half of season 7 that Hunter hasn't seen yet. That I'm like, all right, we're good. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay.
Oh no.
So yeah, I think it's time for Hunter to bring up an episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go with my C tier just because it's only one, and it's not even an episode I hate. It's just to me it doesn't play into the rest of the episodes, and I'm going with Him. Him is one of my C tier episodes. One, it's so weird even today seeing Buffy, this grown ass woman, you know, gawk over a teenager. So that's automatically is weird points, but it feels like a Freak of the Week episode that like doesn't really tie into anything. So just for that reason, I'm putting it in C tier, and like I had to find at least one to put in there.
Makes sense. You going first? You want me to go?
I'll go first.
Okay. Or second.
I would not put this in C tier. I would probably put it in B or A.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say B tier. I'll say B tier and I'll compromise. It's a really funny episode, and I think the point of it is not for like Buffy or Anya or Willow to like come off as creepy as their like genuine selves, because obviously it is like a spell, and it's supposed to show that even these grown women and even someone who is does not identify as like really being attracted to men anymore.
That line was so funny though.
Yeah, I think it's a really funny episode. I'll let Chad talk because I know this one holds a very special place in his heart. I'll put it in A tier. I feel bad. I'll say A tier.
I mean, it doesn't really help anything.
A tier.
This is an S tier for me.
Oh no.
So Him was the very first episode of Buffy I ever saw. And yeah, so I watched because it was just coming on cable.
Mm-hmm.
I was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I was in middle school watching this, And I saw this episode. It was really funny, but really weird, and I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't know what was going on. Everybody was acting strangely. I didn't know who any of these characters were. And then
This is a weird first episode to watch.
I know, but I had to. It was the one that was on. They just would kept going back and through the whole show all the time.
Yeah.
Like multiple episodes a day. So you're gonna be like, I gotta catch that train or buy the seasons, and catch the reruns. And I ended up trying to buy the seasons. One time I bought like a bootleg accidentally. It was a problem trying to get the kid, man. It was weird. But
it was really before Amazon.
Yeah. I had to like try to get an eBay account, and it was a whole thing. But anyways, I think him is amazing. Like, yeah, I agree. Like, it doesn't super factor into like the show as a whole or anything as far as like, developing the characters, except for kind of maybe even more developing the relationship between Buffy and Dawn. Because they have like this sister kind of rivalry in this episode, which is interesting. And then the hero, the savior of the thing is the sisterly love, and Buffy's like, our love for each other is more powerful than any love spell, kind of a deal. But yeah, this episode is extremely funny and just such a fun watch. Like, I was reading a lot of the plot synopses to Carrie before this, so we would have a lot of things fresh in our mind to talk about. And we were reading through the hymn synopsis. We were reading through the synopsis. We were just laughing, both of us, and it was mostly because of the end. When you get to see it's kind of like a heist operation. You get to see like the different segments of people doing stuff. Like, Buffy's got a rocket launcher and she's gonna like shoot Principal Wood with the rocket. What he did to RJ.
The sneaking of Buffy in the background with the fucking rocket launcher is hilarious.
And then Spike tackles her.
Yeah, that's a really good part.
And then you have what is Willow trying to do, a spell to turn him into a woman? She's like, like he's a dude. He doesn't have to be, kind of a deal. And then you have Anya trying to rob a bank. Like, what is she trying to do that for? To get money?
Probably because, like, in her mind, money is like the most impressive.
Money is the most important thing to her.
It is. That's true. And
man, all right, thinking about it, I'm gonna change my thing. I'll go A.
That's fine. It'll end up a very high A then. But there's that, and then Dawn. The most saddest one is Dawn laying on the train tracks because she's like, I have no hope. All these older women. One of them's gonna get them. Yeah. I'm not gonna get them. And that also plays into like Dawn's whole mentality of like feeling like she's lesser, and that plays into the rest of the season too, I feel like. But then I love how it ends with Anya. The news reports like, we're searching for the the bank or whatever, and she turns off the
yes
to like, no, I didn't do anything. What you do, Anya? Nothing. And trying to think about if there's anything else to cover.
I think that's it.
They find out that it's his jacket. A lot of cringy Dawn stuff because she's acting like a cringy high school teenager, and she does that cheer. She wears Buffy's old uniform.
She does, yeah.
And then she shreds it. And then at the end they go, Xander, it's kind of noble of you to not to, actually keep that jacket for yourself. And he's like, well, yeah, I definitely, he's like, I wouldn't want to keep it on account of it didn't fit or something like that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, very interesting, funny, like kind of standalone episode, and I love it. But
Mm.
yeah, anyways,
Yeah, there's just so many funny moments that I like as you were going through them. I was like, man, this episode's actually really fun.
so I'm fine with it being a high A because I was sitting there and I was like, I'm gonna put an S on that thing. All right, so now that's an A. If we're gonna do 3 S tiers, and there's 2 more, then I know what they are. I think.
Mhm.
I think I do.
All right, let's move on back over to Carrie.
Okay. I'll go with Beneath You. Yeah, the second episode in this half. And this is the one where there's like a giant worm kind of demon thing, and it turns out that Anya is the one that created it. She was carrying out vengeance and punishing this woman's ex-boyfriend. This is also the episode where Buffy finds out that Spike got his soul back, and everyone finds out that Spike is back in town. For me, I feel like the Spike part at the end between Buffy and Spike is really strong, but for me, the rest of the episode, I don't know, it just doesn't hit very much for me. So I'm gonna go with a B tier for this one, but I won't be mad if it's an
Hunter, do you want to talk about this one next?
Yeah. So I actually have this at B tier as well. I love the stuff with Buffy and Spike, but didn't really care for the whole worm subplot of this episode. It felt like another creature of the week, but it did have this really good Buffy and Spike moments in there where it kind of does develop their relationship a little bit more. So that's why I'm putting it a B tier as well.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with Beneath You being B tier because there's a lot to like in it, but also, yeah, it's also just kind of weird. I don't know if there's a lot that I actually super love about it. It is just kind of like a vengeance demon episode with the worm. It eats a dog, which I kind of hate every single
It
time.
does, yeah.
And they're just like, I'm sorry about your dog. And then she doesn't even seem like that broken up about it. And she's just like, oh, my boyfriend is the worm. And, and then I'm like, guys, but the dog, though. We should be serious about the dog. And then you get Spike comes back like briefly and he seems coherent for once, which is interesting. And then he fights with Anya, which is also really kind of interesting and kind of funny because like he shows up and he's like, I'm normal now. And then they just go at it, and it's just like not a normal sight in the bar. And what else is there to this episode? There's really not
I think that's it.
too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really good. I mean, it's a really good like creature of the week episode. But as we said, it has that good Buffy and Spike moments in there.
It has the ending with Spike on the cross, which is a really cool scene because it's him like kind of like tormenting himself and burning himself, and like Buffy gets to see that he's got this like, because she still at this point doesn't know, right? That
he still doesn't trust him.
Out.
Oh, she finds out because he's okay at the very end of this, and oh yeah, because she's like, because Angel, how does Angel do it? Kind of a deal. So really cool scene there. I really like that one.
All right, so Beneath You is going into B tier, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on to Chad, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Help. And Help to me, I think is an S tier because it's deep. It's a very deep episode. It's one, I don't know, it almost feels like an after school special kind of, but like actually like a very deep way, like it goes hard. And I feel like it's it's like a kid kind of like crying out for help, but she also has that like, she knows this is gonna happen. She's got that premonition where she's like, I know this is gonna happen. There's no way to stop it. So you guys are trying so hard, and I that's great, but there's so much I'm not going to be able to do. And there's, I'd love to be able to do this and this and this, but I'm not gonna. It's not gonna happen for me. And it's just like the idea of that is just so scary and sad, because Buffy is basically being a guidance counselor, and everybody's problems are just normal high school whatevers, and she's just like, I think one person like just wanted to like hit on her or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get those pretty much, but then Cassie comes in, and she is this actress is really good, and very like doom and gloom, but for a good reason. And then they're just spending the episode trying to figure out how to stop this. And it goes to an interesting place. It's kind of like you get Zachary Ty Bryant, I think his name is, from Home Improvement is in it. And he's one of the big bad kids that
I think it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas, isn't it?
No, that Jonathan Taylor Thomas is the other Home Improvement kid. This is
okay.
Yeah, JTT's not in Buffy. That though. But and then you go to shit, I lost my train of thought. You go to the end with the sacrificial stuff. You get Spike coming in there as well. And then you get Dawn trying to befriend her, and then you get them going to talk to the dad to find out if the dad is a piece of shit and is going to harm her or something like that. And it just ends up being that nothing will help. And but then she tells Spike something. What is it? She tells Spike like, I'll have to look it up. But the cool thing is these kids that are going to try to kill Cassie to summon a demon really goes back to what is it, Reptile Boy, which is kind of interesting, kind of an interesting callback. So, but yeah, this is an S tier just because I think it's really deep.
Carrie?
Yeah, this is one of the ones I was thinking about for S tier as well. So since Chad said S tier, I'll go ahead and say S tier as well. Yeah, this one I think is really special. I think the actress who plays Cassie is really strong. I like her relationship with Dawn in this. This is one that's kind of it kind of shows again. I mean, we had this a lot in the 5th season as well, but it shows again that as much as Buffy wants to save everyone, sometimes it's just not possible. And that is kind of like you talked about at the beginning with the first episode, Hunter. That is kind of like a larger theme with this season. For me, this is just like a really memorable episode. Like when I think about this season, this is one of the first episodes I think about. And it is also the first use of the word Googling in television.
That's right.
In television? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Google's not that old.
Yeah.
And this was 2002. So
yeah.
That's fair.
And the thing that Cassie tells Spike is that one day Buffy will tell you how she feels about you, which kind of drives him, and stuff. So
yeah.
Hunter, what do you think?
Yeah, this is also an S tier episode for me. I love the idea again that Buffy can't save everybody. It's this moral compass of she's a hero, she's a slayer, she's supposed to, protect people. But if something's already set in stone, like you can't really change fate. Like there's really nothing you can do at that point. I also love how this is almost a Final Destination type episode where it's like someone has a premonition of death. So
I got that vibe too.
That's a really cool horror introduction. I love the actress who plays Cassie. I think she did amazing. And I also love how in this episode, it really follows Buffy being a school counselor and being a school guy, like a guidance counselor first and the Slayer second. She does every, steps, like calling the parents, doing a welfare check on the dad, like checking in on Cassie. Like, she's doing all the stuff that she's supposed to do and not just going out and finding ulterior motives. Like, she really focuses on what Cassie needs first, because she thinks that it's a suicide attempt at, early on. It's just like, I'm going to do it on this day, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know it's coming up. So that's, Buffy, it again becomes a protector and does all the steps she needs to protect Cassie and not just fight another evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Who's next?
Hunter.
And that was
All right. All right. I'm going to go with my other S episode, Selfless. I really love this episode. This is the one where you find out that Anya has been doing her vengeance demons stuff, and it results in multiple college students dying, and that's when Buffy has to again be a Slayer and go up against Anya, and Xander is stuck in the middle. I love this episode. One, the fight between Buffy and Anya at the end is really, really great. The choreography and everything like that in that one room. It also feels like a detective type mystery early on, because you're not quite sure if it's Anya. You have an idea that it might be her, but it's kind of revealed at the very end what happened. And the idea that, like, now that Anya has killed multiple people, like, in the vicinity of Buffy, now she has to take action. And it's like, we can't keep letting her do this. Like, now we have to step up. And it's this whole kind of built up expectation of a Slayer versus a demon when your demon is your friend. And like the kind of how far will you go, to battle your friend who is doing something evil. And I like that dynamic between Buffy and like a lot of her friends, like Buffy and Spike and Buffy and Anya, and like, where do the lines draw between a Slayer and who she's supposed to fight? So I'm going S tier for Selfless.
Totally. Carrie.
Yeah, this was another one I was thinking S tier, and so since Hunter said it, I will say it as well. I think this is a really great episode. I love an Anya-centric episode, and this one we get some more of her backstory. We get a bonus song from Once More with Feeling about how much she's excited to be marrying Xander. And like just living the life she's living. And I love the hard cut.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, from her singing the song, and it just hard cuts like in the middle of her singing to
her sitting there with a sword in her, like you think she might be dead.
And I remember the first time I watched this, I thought Buffy killed Anya, and then she came back, and I was like, oh thank God, it can't end like this. Yeah, I agree. I think this is definitely your episode, and I love the ending of this. It's so bittersweet when she and Xander just like walk away in opposite directions.
Yeah. And it is the lyrics. I will be his Mrs. Anya, lame ass made up maiden name, Harris. Yeah. Which is an amazing new song that we get, and the way it's choreographed with her. She's like not wearing a wedding dress at first, and then she transitions her into the wedding dress, and she's just like going out on the balcony and just belting, and it's just beautiful. And I just love Emma Caulfield so much in this role. She's so funny, but she shows like so much depth as well, especially in season 6 and 7 is where she's able to go and kind of shine. I mean, of course, season 5 too, with the body and whatnot, but with these two, they really do a lot of great development for Anya, with the gearing up for the wedding, the breakup, I guess you call it. And then you have this episode, which is her trying to get back into the the vengeance fold, and she's gone too far this time, and Buffy Buffy has to do what she has to do. I remember like a big like supernatural episode that's like this too, where it's like who do we get to kill or who should we kill, and like what is our role and everything. And it's interesting. I probably would have put this at a high A if I'm being honest, but since you guys both put it at S, I'm totally fine with it being S. I'll also still just probably put it at a high A, and then it's going to be weighted to S anyways. So I'm fine with that. I really, really do love the episode, though. I think it's incredible. I'm trying to think because I know like the kills the fraternity. I remember there's like a spider thing that she conjures that looks really fake, and then I'm like, man, like, even season 7, like they like old
TV effects, man.
Effects, but they didn't have that Lost budget. But yeah, you get a lot of great drama in this. Halfrek is generated, basically. Anya's got to make a choice. Buffy's got to make a choice. Xander's got to make a choice.
That's a really good switch up too at the end, because you like the ending is you realize that Anya wants the leader or whatever of the vengeance demons to undo everything. He goes, well, it's a life for a life. And you immediately think, oh no, Anya's going to sacrifice herself, and no, it takes hell for it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I like that switch I didn't see coming. So it's like, I'm taking someone that you care about in exchange for these lives.
Yeah. And also I think it's kind of cool because I feel like Xander redeems himself a little bit here as well, because he is defending Anya a lot and stuff, and she's like, no, I have to fight my own battles and stuff like this. So you get a lot of really, really great deep stuff there as well. I don't know. I think Carrie sold it pretty well, and you as well. So yeah, I think this is a solid S tier for sure. Great Anya episode.
Yeah. All right. So let's move back over to Carrie for her next episode.
Okay. I'll go with the third episode. Same time, same place. This is where Willow returns, and she inadvertently casts this spell where she can't see Buffy, Willow, and Xander, or Buffy, Xander, and Dawn, and they can't see her. And then Willow gets trapped by this really creepy demon. Again, this one is like a little bit scary. Like,
it is.
Season 7 was like hitting us a bit with the scares. I think this one's really great. I could have seen this one also being an S tier, but since we filled our S tiers, I will put it in an A tier. I just think it's a really good episode, and I think I feel like it was a really good way to bring Willow back and kind of like eliminate some of the tension and awkwardness between everyone. Because by the time they find Willow, and like Willow's like desperately needing their help, and like they're just like really grateful at that point to see each other and everything. And Willow, like, she just like doesn't even know that she had this capability to do this. So I think it kind of also shows us that she's still immensely powerful. She's just like scared of using that power, and it's a little bit unpredictable. So I think it was also a really nice, like, realistic way to bring her character back. She's not completely powered down from where she was at the end of last season, but she's not willing to use that power in the same way.
Yeah. I was laughing a little bit because I was just thinking about the a lot of the Spike lines that you get when he's crazy in the basement, and he's like, at one point in this episode, he's like, button, who's got the button? My money's on the witch. It's just really interesting because he's in the basement all crazy, and you don't know who he's talking to or like what's going on with that. And he's talking crazy. He's talking about like kind of talking like how like Drusilla talks, where They're just like crazy as hell. You don't know what the hell she's saying. And so Spike's like that now. And you realize that he's kind of like a in-betweener. Like him and Anya are both like, people that, she didn't cast the spell on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see her. And so Anya helps her, and then Spike helps her. And then you get to see like the same scene kind of play out from the different perspectives, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to see, similar things like that happen from like Willow's perspective versus like Buffy, Dawn, and Xander's perspective. And then, the Gnarl is one of the creepiest designs for a creature ever.
Yes.
I mean, this little like leech demon that lives in a cave and like cuts out your skin and eats it and drinks your blood, and so weird and creepy. And it, goes tick, 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 tick with its fingernails. Talks really creepy. So yeah, Carrie is right on the creep factor on this episode is really, really hardcore. And I like the idea that Buffy just never like shrugs stuff off a lot of the times. Things linger, and then it's like Dark Willow happened, and that's not gonna go away, anytime soon. As far as like the lasting effects on Willow. And then that whole arc about the balance between not using magic and using magic, but then when you are using magic,
can you control it?
Yeah, can you control it? And then not going to the dark side and then the light side. It's like the whole force in Star Wars, the dark side, light side, and how can you use magic responsibly, but also just like channel that, inner light or whatever. And so that kind of plays out throughout the season as well, with Willow. And I think this is a great Willow episode, and I love how it ends, because it ends sweetly with them accepting her back, and Buffy being like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought you did skin someone, and she's like, I understand. It makes sense. So I would put this at A tier, high A tier.
Yeah, me too. This is high A tier for me. I also love how, like, again, Buffy is being cautious because she saw Dark Willow. She knows what Willow is capable of. So when these bodies start showing up, she goes, okay, is Willow actually, is she healed? Is she good? Or do we have to worry about her? But on the other hand, Xander is the one who's like, I can't believe that Willow would come back and do this again. Like, he's the one who's like the light, because, he's seen Willow at her worst and her best. So he always wants to see the best in his friends. And I like that dynamic of Xander is being not oblivious to it. Like, he knows what happened, but he wants to believe in the best, while Buffy, as the Slayer, has to kind of always see not the worst in people, but has to like remember, like there could be something dark there that we have to fight. And if we let our guard down, then it could end up getting us killed. I like that dynamic of two sides of the same coin. They both care about Willow, but one sees what happened last season and the other wants to see the good in Willow. So it's kind of that balanced episode.
Good point.
All right, so same time, same place is in A tier. I believe it's Chad, right?
Okay. All right, then I'll go to Sleeper as the next one. This is the one where we start to get more into the this is the one where Giles comes back too, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the very end of this one, right? Is this the one that ends? Yes. This is the one that ends where you think Giles might be killed.
Dude, I thought they killed him off.
So he's not back in Sunnydale.
Correct. It ends.
I thought they killed him. I was like, you better not. Not
right.
off screen.
that tease is so weird, but it makes you think, like, if you haven't seen the rest of the show, like, oh shit. Very shocking end of an episode.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is an episode where after you heard about Holden saying that Spike sired him, you're like, what's going on? So now you get to see more of kind of that and that whole thing. We don't get we do get the song. So you get to see that whole thing where you kind of understand that there's some sort of like thing going on. Spike singing a weird song. He's burying bodies and he's
Mhm.
picking up people and like turning them into vampires, killing others. I don't think he's siring all of them, is he? I think he is
I think he
actually.
is siring all of them.
And then Buffy has to Spike is remorseful and like actually, wants to be staked and is like, I don't know what's going on. People are wondering if Spike's just evil now again or whatever. And then Buffy's like, there's something more going on here. Like Buffy's smarter than that. She's like, this isn't, he wouldn't just turn into something else. And I think this is, I love this episode. I love this whole like Spike arc thing in this season. I like how this is affecting him, and I think it's really creepy and it's a really good mystery. And so I like this. I like seeing how this plays out, and this is kind of like the start of it. So I think Sleeper is really great. I'll say A tier.
Okay.
Carrie?
I'll say A tier as well. I really used to love this storyline a lot with Spike, and I'm just not really quite into it as much anymore. But I think this is still a really good episode where they're trying to just figure out what's going on with him. Buffy's following him around. I think it's the end scene, or at least towards the end, where he takes Buffy to the basement where he's buried all his bodies, and they all kind of rise up at once. That's a really cool scene. So yeah, I'll agree with A tier. Because I like the potential storyline kind of even less at points in this season.
Yeah.
That's the rest of these episodes.
Yeah.
So I'll say A tier for this one.
Yeah, I'll say the potential stuff. It goes interesting places, but it also kind of is just kind of annoying sometimes.
Yes.
I'll agree with that. Hunter.
Yeah, I agree with A tier for this one. I also love that the show never forgets about anything in the previous seasons, because even when Xander brings up the fact that Spike turned evil again, Buffy says, how is that possible? He still has the chip in his head. So again, the chip keeps coming back, and it's not just like a one season thing. Like they continue this. Oh, he has a chip in his head. He can't hurt humans. So how would he be able? And I like that device, because with what happened to Buffy last season, it could be so easy for her to be like, if you didn't bring up the chip again, oh, Spike is doing this, he's evil, let's go after him. But because, Buffy, one, has seen what Spike is up to now and sees how kind of broken he is and knows that he's human, has his soul back, but also that he can't hurt people because of his chip, that makes her extra smart because she remembers what he went through without fully forgiving Spike just yet for what happened last season. It's a really good balance of I remember what happened, but he can't be killing humans, because season 5, the chip, it will physically hurt him to do that. I like that device used, because again, it'd be so easy for the writers to kind of just forget about anything that happened last season or in season 5. But I like that they kind of, every major thing that happens in the show has a payoff and always gets brought back in one way or another.
Yeah, and I will say the song that he sings is called "Early One Morning," and plays a factor in later in the season as well. But I used to have it on my iPod because I love the show. So I was like, early one morning.
I used to have a lot of the and actually I think it's in this episode actually that Amy Mann plays, and she has this fun part where she like
that's right.
There's a vampire that's staked in the middle of the bronze, and she like stops the song, and then they just start up again.
They just play it.
Yeah, and then at the end, she's like, "Oh, I hate Vampire Town."
That's right.
Like,
yeah, I didn't know if you would remember that line, and then I was like,
and because I had
hate
the
playing Vampire Town.
soundtracks, so I would like listen to, and a lot of the music from season 7 was on the soundtrack. So, yeah.
Perfect.
All right, is it on to me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wait, so we said this is A, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go for. Let me actually bring up the episode. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
That's okay.
We have left Never Leave Me, Bring on the Night, and Showtime.
That's right. Sure. All right, I'm gonna go with Showtime. I'm gonna go with B tier for Showtime. I think it's a really good episode. This is where we meet more of the potential Slayers. So it's really cool that they have this kind of army of Slayers, which I love, and each of them have a distinct personality. So you get to learn more about them. They're not just kind of, just one like, like 4 people that like all act the same. Like they each have their own unique styles, which I love. This is when the first evil is going after each one of them. I like the idea that like he's trying to take out the lineage of the Slayers. That way, like he's just trying to cut off the Slayers in general. So it kind of shows that the first evil is like this kind of tactician where he tries to like break them up and take them out one by one, take them out when they're going to the train station to come to the US, or like it just has these kind of really cool moments. But I don't remember a lot from this episode, if I'm being honest. It's one that kind of just jumbles in my head. So that's why I'm going B tier. But as you guys talk about it, I may be able to put it up in A tier. Carrie?
Yeah. I would say of the 3 that are left, I think it's hard. The 3 that are left, they kind of really run together for me. I will say like a low A tier.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of the 3 that are left, I kind of like this one the best. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely low A tier. I think if it winds up in B tier, that's fine too. Because this one, I think most of the episode is pretty bland. We're mostly getting these potentials, and they're kind of like the first is basically tricking them into thinking that one of them is them and like trying to turn them against each other. I think the thing that's cool is at the end, like we find out like Buffy sent this like telepathic message to Willow and Xander, or maybe Willow must have been
Willow did it,
yeah, because Buffy would
doesn't
not be
know how
able
to
to
do
that.
Buffy has a secret power we didn't know.
And like Buffy like is able to kill the Turcon in front of the potentials. I'll actually move it down to B tier. It is a really cool moment at the end. It's like pretty badass, and I thought like the telepathic reveal was pretty cool, but for most of the episode it's just a lot of like trying to turn people against each other. And I do feel like this potential storyline, I just don't love it. And this is a lot of the potentials.
So I took for Selfless, I made sure I did an A for that one. So I'm putting my third S on here, Showtime. Because
wow.
Just because like, yeah, I agree. There is, it's not like the whole episode is incredible. I agree. Like there's some parts that are maybe not, but like I think here, like the potential stuff is kind of interesting. where they're all kind of like talking about like their doubts and stuff, and but then you have the whole creepy moment where they find Eve's body somewhere, and they're like in a hotel or something like that, and then they're like, "Uh-oh, Eve's back with the other girls. This is weird." And then you get that whole thing with her reveal, that she's always been there, kind of a deal or something. And you got everyone trying to figure out what the hell the Turok-Han is. Giles explains it. They start to call it the Uber Vamp.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is more powerful than any vampire you faced or whatever. Basically, it's the last season. Why not? You got to up it.
Yeah.
And introduce a new kind of vampire, which is kind of cool. And very creepy looking, very powerful. It beats the shit out of Buffy at one point. I think that might be the previous episode.
Yeah.
And so it's established that it's a big freaking deal. And no one has faith in Buffy. No one thinks that Buffy can conquer this. And so they're like, we're done for with this thing. And then basically I love that scene where they do the telepathic thing, and they're like, we need to have some morale building here. We need to inspire these people to know that it's not all doom and gloom. And then we get the in fight scene, which is like kind of it's better here. But I don't know if like this is where they got it from, but it kind of reminds me of Freddy versus Jason a little bit.
Yeah,
like a construction site.
I
love how they're all standing around. They're like, "Oh, it's gonna kill Buffy," and then Willow's like, "Wait," kind of a deal, and then she beats the shit out of it, kills it. And then, she's like, we can do this, just inspiring. So Buffy is like this figure that's like, yeah, I'm Buffy, okay? She just, I don't know, just think it rules.
Word for word, I'm Buffy, okay? She walks off.
I'm Buffy, okay, mic drop. And I think it really works as a like mid-season ender, mid-season finale. And yeah, it's just a really, really cool episode that I like a lot. There's another one that I was thinking about maybe throwing an S on, but honestly, I think a lot of the mid-season ones are really, really great. So,
yeah. So to me, it would help if I hadn't watched these episodes like a month ago and didn't have time to rewatch them. But like again, the like 9, 10, and 11. Those 3 episodes just kind of run together. That it takes me a while to remember what episode is which sometimes.
Yeah. And in season 6 and 7, you do get a lot of those. Like we were kind of like talking about like the beginning of season 6 is kind of like that. And then this one, it's just like you don't have like a monster of the week to distinguish really.
Which one is which, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just there's like a big story that's happening in these episodes with Spike in the first and the Turok-Han and everything and the potential. So I totally get that, yeah.
All right, let's move back over to Carrie.
Okay. I will go with Never Leave Me, which is the one where, they're holding Spike captive after the events of Sleeper. And then they also, like, Andrew comes back to town. He has killed Jonathan by this point, as we talked about with conversations with dead people. And the first is trying to get him to do some more stuff. And Willow finds him and brings him back, basically. And then at the end of the episode, Spike gets captured by the Bringers. And the Watchers Council is just like totally blown up. That's a pretty cool part. I'll say this one I think is actually an A. This is the one where I think the potentials are there, but they're really not as big a part of the story as Spike and Andrew are. And I think Spike has some really cool parts in this. I think Andrew's hilarious in this. And this is like the first episode where I feel like we really start to see, like, we've met Andrew, obviously we spent quite a bit of time with him over the past like season and a half, but I feel like this is where the first episode where he kind of starts to come into his own, after he kind of starts to work with Buffy and the gang, and stops working with the first. I think then he becomes like, he's still the same character, but he becomes a character you start to like rather than you hate, which I think is really cool. So for that, I'll put this one in.
Chad?
Sure, yeah. This is another one that I was thinking about maybe throwing an S on, just because I love all the Andrew stuff in it. And, you know, as I was reading this earlier, just like read through the plot, is like the whole scene where he's gonna Warren wants him to kill a pig, and
and he keeps trying to run and it escapes.
He's like, I just can't do it. And then when he goes to kill it, he goes, "That'll do, pig," and tries to like lunge at it. And I love the fact that he can't do it, because I would have hated if he would have actually done that. And then we've had too much pig murder in Buffy for one thing in season season one.
Oh,
the pack.
yeah.
But yeah, the Razorbacks, that's their whole thing. Anyways, I love the scene between Andrew and Willow when she runs into him and she's like, "Oh, I'll get you if you're not here," or whatever. She's trying to, she's trying to act like she's still bad or whatever, to like scare him, but she's such a nerd, and like a wimp kind of.
Nerd Willow's the best Willow.
Yeah. And then he's also like a wimpy nerd kind of. They're both nerds. So, you know, they come together and she's like trying to figure out what the hell he's doing with like a bunch of blood that he just bought. And you know, and then she takes him back and then he gets attacked by Spike, which is in a crazy scene. Gets bit by Spike. And shit, I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's not an S tier. I'm trying to remember a lot of the stuff that happens in it.
That's most of it.
And I think you've like really explained it. I mean, this is the end where they capture Spike, drain his blood, not drain his blood, but you know, we won't talk about why vampires still have blood. I mean, I guess because they eat it. Maybe that's why it's in their veins. But
yeah, let's go with that.
Where we get the emergence of the Turok Khan, and it's a really cool ending to the episode. And yeah, and Carrie said the Watchers Council. It's so funny because like they're all sitting there like, this is the greatest like thing we've ever faced,
and then
we all need to figure out how to fight this,
and then just blows up.
It's just like a really funny thing. But thankfully Giles was able to get some great stuff on the first before it exploded. Anyways, yeah, I think this is a really fun episode.
Hunter, what do you think?
Yeah, A tier for me. I also love how this episode kind of explores more of who Principal Wood is.
Yes.
There's a moment where he goes down to the basement and just sees Jonathan's body on the symbol and blood. He just walks right past it. So you know he knows something is up, and I don't know if it gets revealed later on that he's working with, you know, the first or whatever, but I can't wait to see where he goes. But that moment right there, you're like, oh, so he's either working with the first or he knows that this is happening and just not doing anything about it.
Well, he also, I don't know if it's this episode or the next one, but he apparently he buried Jonathan's body. Like he had a shovel with him. So you can kind of like connect the dots because Jonathan's body's not there. And so the Buffy, like when they like pass or whatever, they don't know that he did that or anything about Jonathan's body.
And the stuff with like Willow and Andrew is hilarious. And you guys said something last season which was interesting. You told me that because season 6, I hated Andrew. I hated how wimpy and stuff he was. You guys said just give it till season 7, and he does get better. I agree with that now. He does get so much better based on the episodes I've seen. But like, I kind of like this kind of dorky kind of thing he's going with because he's not being controlled by Warren and Jonathan. Like he gets to be his own person and stand up and like really work with the gang a little bit, but they still don't trust him. So I like that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, actually, that is the interesting thing too. Is that now that Andrew is not like he's with people that can kind of like ground him,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't just have this like Warren demon in his head.
Yeah.
This whole time, telling him to do bad things. He's like, I can be good now, kind of a deal. And yeah, so now you can start to see why, and you'll see more in the second half. But now you can start to see why Andrew's special. Like so many people that I talk to that are fans of Buffy, Andrew is like one of their favorite characters.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It's just really cool because he goes from the season 6 trio that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I find them very funny, but then it starts to get very not funny very quickly. We've already been through this, but then Andrew kind of is the standout because he ends up being the only one left alive. So, yeah, very special. So I hope you start to like him more because he's great. So there's some great Andrew stuff coming up. So,
all right. So for Never Leave Me, I believe it is A tier.
And Showtime was A tier as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. And there's only one more.
Mm-hmm.
Bring on the Night. Who's starting with this one?
Hunter.
It's
perfect.
No, I believe it's Chad.
Me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Wait, is Showtime A or B tier?
I think it's A because it was a Chad's S tier.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. If you remember, Carrie, maybe you start with this.
Oh, Bring on the Night.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, by virtue of the fact that Chad can't even figure out what episode this is.
It's the same problem that Hunter was talking about.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know. And I think that this is the episode where it most occurs. For me, this is a C tier. I think if we're gonna choose one to be C tier, I think this is it. If it ends up in B or A, whatever, it's fine. This is the one where Giles brings the three potentials. Actually, it's not in the prior episode. They find out for sure it's the first. Like, Giles brings some backup research. Like, the Turrican is out and beats the crap out of Buffy. And I remember watching this episode the first time and it being like so scary because it's like they were like, Buffy's never been beaten this badly before. Like, it seems like such a big deal. I'll say, because I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think it's a big spoiler, but things happen later in the season that I feel like kind of really retcon this episode a little bit, at least as far as the strength of the Turrican. And it's a little silly to me. Like, this is one of the few episodes I feel like in Buffy that kind of introduces, like, it's not necessarily a plot hole, but you really got to suspend your disbelief to believe that Buffy is beaten this badly by the Turrican and she's a Slayer, and like later things happen in the rest of the season. Like, we'll get into it when we talk about the second half. But also for me, I don't know, this is not the most memorable episode, except for Buffy getting beaten so badly by the Turrican. I don't think anything else in this episode is really super memorable. So I'll go C tier here.
Let me just chime in really quick and make a case for A tier, and it's for only one reason. Carrie did a great job at explaining why this one doesn't have a lot of great moments except for the ending, which is the big Buffy speech. And I'm a sucker for speeches in the show. I love when, you get a lot of like preamble, a lot of like doubt and worry, and then someone comes up and makes a brilliant speech that hypes up not only people in the show but me. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, whoa. And Buffy lays down like this really awesome speech where she's like, I'm done like running. I'm done being this, the first like wants us to be like scared little girls and stuff. And I'm done doing that. I want to bring the fight to it. And I want to, and then the whole thing is like, the line is, it wants an apocalypse. Oh, well, we'll give it one. And I love that speech. And so I'll waited a little bit where Carrie put it in C, I'll put it in A. We'll see what Hunter thinks. And I mean, you do need some episodes that just kind of like have like a bridge episode. But yeah, I think the Uber Vamp, fight with Buffy is very interesting. And I think it also makes Showtime better because you get to see the fierceness of the Uber Vamp and the pure raw power of it.
So this is a weird episode, not bad weird, but just where I want to place it, because I feel like if they would have established the Uber Vamp earlier on, like maybe the first half, like maybe episode 3, episode 4, that this vamp, one, a stake to the heart, don't kill it. So, and then you spend kind of the first half of the season as this kind of mini boss where like Buffy has to figure out how to beat it, and it's not just 2 or 3 episodes, but it's like, what can I do to beat it? And then you have this episode where Buffy gets beat down, and then you have Showtime where she has the big speech and beats it. I think that would have been a really good like first half, like kind of arc in a way where it's like, okay, Buffy went from getting beat down and getting, not knowing how to beat this thing. And then a few episodes later, she has this speech and, in Showtime, she finally beats it. I think that would have been better than trying to condense this Uber Vamp that's more powerful than most people that Buffy has faced into 2 to 3 episodes. But again, you have the first and you have all that, so you have to kind of tie that in. It seems like they try to do a lot in the final season, and I appreciate that, but I don't know if it really meshes well with what they were trying to do. But for this episode, I do love the speech. I think that's awesome. I do love the Buffy versus the Vamp fight. I would probably go B tier. I think it's right down the middle. It's not the worst. It's not one of the best. It's right in the middle. It's a really good episode with some good moments, but it's also, again, it's the 9, 10, and 11 episode where it's like, which one is this one? Like they jumble up all together. You can't really tell which one is which till we get more in depth with it.
I did want to add on, especially because this is the last one we've talked about. We're kind of done. I did want to say that I think that is kind of like a common complaint Hunter talks about, is that season 7 is a season full of ideas. It's very ambitious. They want to go out hard. They want to go out on their own terms and like really big. And yet it's, it's still 22 episodes. They had a lot they could have done, but like I know a lot of people have reservations about it because it is on that, second part where they move channels, and then they have all these ideas that they don't always fully come together. And then Hunter makes a good point about maybe if they had the Turok-Han earlier, it could have been even better and bigger in Showtime, where it's like, finally she's able to do this.
And even, sorry to interrupt you, and even if you want to add in the first, you could have the Turok-Han work underneath as the big, like the muscle for the first, that, the first sends out the Turok-Han to kind of weaken Buffy. That way, when he comes in, then the last half of the season, you've got kind of this hurt Buffy who is trying to fight, but then she has to kind of fight over that. It's more adversity added to the season, I feel like.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely see that point, but I do. I don't know. Every single time I watch the season, when I get to these episodes and the Turok-Han comes, beats Buffy, and then she ends up beating it, I feel like it's enough time there for me when I'm watching it that I'm like, that showtime is like really excellent. I get so excited when she's about to kill the first Turok-Han, and then everyone's like, "Oh, she can do this. Okay, cool." Because they didn't think she could. But I'm wondering now, like, if it could have been a lot stronger if what Hunter said had happened. But it's a messy season, but I still love this season. So I'm excited to get to the second half of it. So bring on the night is B tier. Okay. Do we have to have a C tier? Or can we just leave it at
we don't have a C, so
yeah, we don't have a C tier.
Perfect. Carrie probably would not have expected that going into it.
I don't think any of these aren't actually like, none of these are super C tiery for me. Like, but I feel like a lot of these are a little like, we skewed, I think, a little more A than I would for some of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, I don't feel like there's any outright terrible episodes.
Yeah.
Like there's no The Pact episode in this season. So I mean, I'm fine with having a lot more A's and B's because most of these episodes were really good. Like even something like Beneath You, which is like a B tier, it's not terrible. It's just there's a lot of like messy moments, and the worm thing just doesn't work for me personally. But like again, Bring on the Night is not a bad episode either. It's just there's some stuff that they could have done better if they started this arc a little bit sooner.
Yeah. So I'm actually really excited for the second half. Hunter is about to finish the show finally.
Yeah.
It's been a long time going. Very excited for you to finally know everything.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it. And I don't like necessarily want to set like a timetable, but I think if we could try and get it done by the end of the month, maybe that could be something that we can do. And what I might try to do with Carrie is either we can just watch the 11 episodes together, or we could watch them like separately, because I definitely want to do these last 11 like justice and like really just like get into it and go out with a bang with the Buffy discussion. And very excited to get into these last episodes, because I think this second half is better than the first half, and I really enjoy it. But there's a lot of big moments. There's a lot of whoa moments in the second half. So
nice.
Well, Carrie,
yeah, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, but there are some really great moments in the second.
All right, so we have S tier: Conversations with Dead People, Help, and Selfless. A, Lessons, Him, Same Time, Same Place, Sleeper, Never Leave Me, and Showtime. B tier: Beneath You and Bring on the Light.
Nice.
Or Bring on the Night, not light. There we go.
Yep. Perfect.
All right, guys. I think that we did it. This half is over. I can't wait to get to the second half. So, Chad and Carrie, where can people find you before we head out?
Here. Sometimes we're all doing trivia on Why We Love Trivia. Shout out John's channel, because it's a great place over there. Shout out the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where I do a bunch of stuff over there. Hunter's sometimes in the Marvel trivia sphere. Carrie as well. Carrie and I just did a draft day episode. We draft stuff. Picture This is a show I do over there all the time, every month. We talk about Oscars, and we talk about the Best Picture nominees. A lot of great stuff over there. Also, check out Cinema Chad. That's like my moniker over that channel. I try to do reviews and stuff, but mostly what I do over there is a show called You Rankin' With Me, where we do rankings of franchises, directors, filmographies, all that type of stuff. And it's about it. Just to watch other stuff on Welcome to Primetime. We're trying to do a lot of episodes now. Hunter's back, and we can go ahead and do games, reviews, brackets. Well, Buffy's ending, but we might do some more TV type stuff at some point. And there's a lot of horror TV shows out there we can cover. So, but
yes, there is.
But yeah, if you're watching this, you've probably seen Buffy. Go watch more Buffy.
Yeah. Speaking of brackets, we also have coming up very soon. Hopefully, by the end of the month, we're going to be recording our 70s horror bracket to finish up the full contingency of what is the best horror movie of each decade, and then we're going to do a full take those winners and the top 8 and do a whole other bracket to determine what is the best horror movie of all time. So it is like we started with the 2020s, 2010s, all the way down to the 80s. It's been super fun to go through different decades and just see the evolution of horror movies. So check that out on the channel as well. And remember, stay scared.